The giant space station called Harmony's Edge floated in the dark space around a planet far from Earth. The station was huge, bigger than most cities, with silver walls that reflected the light from distant stars. Ships from different worlds were docked along its sides like metal insects stuck to a bright flower. Tae-ho Kim walked down a long hallway inside the station. His black shoes made soft sounds on the metal floor. He wore a simple dark blue suit. That marked him as the human ambassador. Behind him walked two other humans. Bo-Ra Lee wore a military uniform with small medals on her chest. June Park carried a briefcase full of papers and data tablets. The three humans did not talk as they walked. Their faces showed no emotion. Other beings in the hallway stared at them. Some were tall and thin with green skin. Others looked like giant insects walking on two legs. A few seemed to be made of pure light that moved in floating robes. "The humans are here," whispered a reptile-like creature to his friend. "They look scared." "Good," said the other. "They should be scared." Tae-ho heard the words, but his face did not change. He kept walking toward the big doors at the end of the hallway. Two guards stood beside the doors. They were both aliens, much taller than the humans. One guard had 4 arms and skin like tree bark. The other had no solid body at all, just glowing energy in the shape of a person. "Ambassador Kim," said the energy being in a voice that sounded like wind. "You may enter. The council waits for you." The doors opened with a soft hiss. Inside was a round room with a high ceiling painted like the night sky. In the center sat a large table made of black stone. Around the table were 4 chairs. 3 were already filled with alien beings. The 4th chair, smaller than the others, waited for Tae-ho. The first alien was Ambassador Veltar from the Sauron Empire. He looked like a giant lizard that learned to walk and talk. His skin was dark green with yellow spots. His eyes were small and black, like pieces of coal. Sharp teeth filled his mouth when he smiled, which was not a friendly smile at all. Next to him sat High Chancellor Mordak from the Hive Collective. She looked like a huge ant, but with only 2 legs and 2 arms. Her body was covered in hard, shiny black shell. Her head had large compound eyes that sparkled like broken glass. When she moved, her shell made soft clicking sounds. The 3rd alien was Prime Designate Kethvar from the Ethereal Consortium. Like the guard outside, Kethvar had no solid body. He was made of blue and white light that moved like water. Sometimes his shape was clear, sometimes it was blurry. When he spoke, his voice came from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. "Sit," said Veltar, pointing at the empty chair with one clawed finger. "We have been waiting." Tae-ho sat down. Bo-Ra and June stood behind his chair. The human chair was lower than the alien chairs, so Tae-ho had to look up at the 3 beings around the table. "Let us begin," said Mordak. Her voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "The war has gone on for 30 of your years. Too much blood has been spilled. Too many worlds have burned. It is time for peace." "Yes," agreed Kethvar. His light body pulsed brighter as he spoke. "The Galactic Coalition offers humanity a chance to end this conflict. We are prepared to be generous." Veltar laughed, a sound like rocks falling down a mountain. "Very generous. More generous than you deserve, little humans." Tae-ho said nothing. He placed his hands flat on the table and waited. Veltar reached under the table and pulled out a data tablet. The screen showed a long document with many pages. "These are the terms of peace," he said. "Read them carefully." The tablet slid across the smooth table surface until it stopped in front of Tae-ho. He picked it up and began to read. His face showed no expression as his eyes moved down the screen. Behind him, Bo-Ra leaned forward and whispered something in Korean. Tae-ho nodded but did not look away from the tablet. "What did she say?" asked Mordak, her compound eyes focusing on Bo-Ra. "She asked about a word we do not understand," said Tae-ho in English. "Our language skills are not perfect." The 3 aliens looked at each other. Veltar made a sound that might have been a chuckle. "Of course. Humans are still learning to speak properly." Tae-ho continued reading. The document was long and full of difficult words, but the meaning was clear. The aliens wanted humanity to surrender almost everything. According to the peace treaty, humans could keep their home worlds, Earth and the first 12 colonies. But they could not expand to new planets. They could not build new ships without alien permission. They had to give 40% of everything they made to the 3 alien empires. Worse, human military forces would be reduced to almost nothing. Only small police ships would be allowed. All human weapons research had to stop. Alien inspectors would visit human worlds whenever they wanted to make sure humans were following the rules. "Well," said Kethvar, "do you understand the terms?" Tejo set down the tablet. "I understand them," he said, "but I need time to discuss this with my team." "What is there to discuss?" asked Veltar. "You lost the war. These are the consequences of losing." "We are being very kind," added Mordak. "Usually when a species loses a war this badly, they become slaves. We are letting you keep your freedom." "Limited freedom," corrected Kethvar. "But freedom nonetheless." June stepped forward and whispered something in Taiho's ear. The ambassador nodded. "My advisor reminds me that some of these economic terms are unclear," said Tejo. "What exactly counts as industrial output?" Veltar's eyes narrowed. "Everything. Ships, weapons, tools, computers, food, medicine. 40% of everything you make belongs to us. And the military restrictions," said Tejo. "How many ships can we keep?" 50 ships, said Mordak. "No bigger than a patrol boat. No weapons stronger than basic defense lasers." 50 ships to protect 47 star systems? Asked Bora. "You should have thought about that before you started a war you could not win," said Veltar. The room became quiet. The 3 aliens stared at the humans, waiting for an answer. Outside the big windows, stars sparkled in the darkness of space. Ships moved between the station and the nearby planet like tiny lights dancing in the night. Tejo looked at the tablet again. He touched the screen, scrolling through the pages of the treaty. Each page contained new restrictions, new ways to control humanity. "How long do we have to decide?" he asked. "The offer expires in 24 hours, said Kethvar. "After that, the war continues, and we will not be so generous next time." "Next time, there might not be any humans left to make peace with," added Veltar with his sharp-toothed smile. Tejo stood up slowly. Bora and June moved to flank him on either side. "We will consider your offer," said Tejo. His voice was calm and quiet. "We will give you our answer tomorrow." "There is nothing to consider," said Mordak. "You accept or you die. Those are your only choices." "We understand," said Tejo. He bowed slightly, a polite gesture that made the aliens think he was showing respect and fear. The 3 humans walked toward the door. As they reached it, Veltar called out behind them. "Do not think about trying to run," he said. "There is nowhere in the galaxy you can hide from us. We have 1,000 ships for every one of yours. We have weapons that can destroy entire planets. You have nothing." Tejo stopped walking. He turned around and looked at the 3 alien leaders sitting around their black stone table. "You are right," he said. "We have nothing." Then he smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible, but something about it made the aliens feel uncomfortable, though they could not say why. The humans left the room. The door closed behind them with a soft hiss. The 3 aliens sat in silence for a moment. "They will accept," said Veltar finally. "They have no choice." "Of course they will accept," agreed Mordak. "Humans are weak. They always surrender when they face real power." But Kethvar said nothing. He was thinking about that small smile on the human ambassador's face. It was not the smile of a defeated enemy. It was something else entirely. Something that made his energy body flicker with an emotion he had never felt before. Fear. The 3 alien leaders sat in Veltar's private room on the space station. The room was decorated with trophies from his many victories. Weapons hung on the walls. Models of destroyed ships sat on shelves. Pictures showed planets that the Sauran Empire had conquered. Veltar poured drinks for his guests. The liquid was green and smelled like flowers, but it was strong enough to kill most life forms. The 3 aliens could drink it safely because of their different biology. "To victory," said Veltar, raising his glass. To the end of the human problem, added Mordak. To a peaceful galaxy under our control, said Kethvar. They drank together. The alcohol made them feel good and confident. I cannot believe how easy this was, said Veltar. 30 years of war, and they just give up. Did you see how scared their ambassador looked? Asked Mordak. His hands were shaking when he read our terms. Kethvar flickered thoughtfully. Were they shaking? I did not notice. Of course they were shaking, said Veltar. The man was terrified, as he should be. Mordak clicked her mandibles together, a sound that meant she was happy. I have already contacted my fleet commanders. They are making plans to divide the human worlds between our 3 empires. The mining worlds will go to my people, said Veltar. We need the metals and rare minerals. The factory worlds are ours, said Mordak. Our workers will increase production by 300%. And we will take the research stations, said Kethvar. Whatever technology the humans have developed will serve us well. They continued drinking and planning. Outside the window, human ships could be seen docked at the station. The ships looked small and weak compared to the massive alien vessels nearby. Look at their pathetic fleet, said Veltar, pointing at the window. 3 little ships. That is all they brought to surrender with. I heard their biggest warship was destroyed last month, said Mordak. The one they called Enterprise or something similar. Actually, it was called Soul's Pride, corrected Kethvar. And it was not destroyed. It retreated after taking heavy damage. Same thing, said Veltar with a wave of his clawed hand. Running away, getting destroyed. The result is the same. One less human ship to worry about. Meanwhile, on the other side of the station, the 3 humans sat in their own private room. The room was much smaller and simpler than the alien quarters. It had white walls, basic furniture, and only one small window. Te-Ho sat at a metal table. Bo-Ra stood near the window, looking out at the stars. June had opened his briefcase and spread papers across the table. Did you record everything? Asked Te-Ho in Korean. Every word, replied Bo-Ra, touching a small device hidden in her uniform collar. The translation software is already working on their private conversations, too. Good, said Te-Ho. What did they say about our ships? June smiled as he read from a tablet. They think Soul's Pride was destroyed. They have no idea it jumped away using the new drive system. And our mining operations? Asked Te-Ho. They want our mining worlds for the metals, said Bo-Ra. They have no idea what we are really mining out there. Te-Ho nodded and picked up one of June's tablets. The screen showed a map of the galaxy with many colored dots. Red dots marked alien worlds. Blue dots marked human colonies. But there were also green dots scattered across the map in places that looked empty. Show me the real numbers, said. Te-Ho June touched the screen. The map changed. Now it showed hundreds of green dots where before there had been empty space. The green dots were everywhere. Hidden human bases, secret shipyards, and research stations that the aliens knew nothing about. 47 systems, said June. That is what they think we control. The real number is 231 systems. And ships? Asked Bo-Ra. They think we have maybe 50 combat vessels left, said June. The real number is 8,412, not counting the new ships being built in the hidden yards. Te-Ho leaned back in his chair. For 30 years, humanity had been fighting a careful war. Every battle was planned. Every retreat was calculated. Every defeat was designed to teach the aliens the wrong lessons. The humans had developed new technology during the war, cloaking devices that made ships invisible, jump drives that could move fleets across the galaxy in hours instead of days, weapons that could destroy planets. But they had kept all of this secret. What about the battle? Reports? Asked Te-Ho. Bo-Ra activated a holographic display above the table. It showed a list of battles from the past 30 years. Each battle had 2 columns, what really happened and what the aliens believed happened. Battle of Kepler Station, she read. Official result, human defeat, station destroyed. Actual result, station evacuated, alien technology captured, new shield design tested successfully. Battle of the Centauri Belt, continued June. Official result, human mining fleet destroyed. Actual result, fake mining fleet destroyed as Planned, real mining operation remained hidden. Alien patrol patterns recorded. Battle of Wolf 359, said Bo-Ra. Official result, human colony ship captured. Actual result. Empty colony ship allowed itself to be captured, carrying spy devices that gave us access to alien communication networks. Taeho stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see one of the alien ships docked at the station. It was a Sauran battlecruiser, huge and covered with weapons. The aliens thought it was the most powerful ship design in the galaxy. They were wrong. Hidden in a nebula 3 light-years away, a human ship waited. It was called the Indomitable Soul, and it was twice the size of the alien cruiser. Its weapons could destroy the entire space station in seconds. Its shields could stop anything the aliens could throw at it, and it was completely invisible to alien sensors. "Have you contacted Admiral Cho?" asked Taeho. "Yes," said Bo-Ra. "She is ready to implement Protocol Revelation on your command." Protocol Revelation was humanity's master plan. For 30 years, they had hidden their true strength. For 30 years, they had pretended to be weak and desperate. For 30 years, they had let the aliens think they were winning. But now the aliens had made a mistake. They had demanded humanity's complete surrender. They had shown that they would never accept humans as equals. They had proven that peace was impossible as long as they believed they were superior. "What about the economic data?" asked Taeho. June activated another display. This one showed trade routes and resource flows across the galaxy. The aliens saw only the official human trade: food, simple manufactured goods, raw materials. They had no idea about the real human economy. "The 40% they want to claim," said June, "includes 23 secret shipyards, 14 research facilities, and the quantum computer network that controls our defense grid. They want 40% of our industrial output," said Bo-Ra. "They have no idea that our real industrial output is 50 times larger than what they think it is." "And the rare elements?" asked Taeho. "The mining operations on the worthless worlds have extracted enough hypermatter to power our fleet for 1,000 years, said June. "The aliens still think hypermatter is theoretical." Taeho turned away from the window. His face was calm, but his eyes were hard and cold. "Send a message to Admiral Cho," he said. "Begin Phase 1 of Protocol Revelation. I want our ships in position within 12 hours. "Sir," said Bo-Ra, "once we start this, there is no going back. The aliens will know we have been lying to them for 30 years. "Good," said Taeho. "I am tired of pretending to be weak." June began typing on his tablet, sending coded messages to human commanders across the galaxy. The messages looked like routine diplomatic reports, but they contained hidden instructions that would change everything. In secret bases scattered throughout space, human crews received their orders. Ships that had been hidden for decades began to power up their engines. Weapons that had never been fired started charging their systems. Soldiers who had waited their entire careers for this moment checked their equipment one last time. Back in Veltar's room, the 3 alien leaders continued their celebration. They had divided up the human worlds between their empires. They had planned how to use human workers and human technology. They had imagined the wealth and power that would be theirs. "The best part," said Veltar, "is that the humans will be grateful to us for letting them live." "Grateful and obedient," agreed Mordak, "as they should be." "Perhaps we should reduce their surrender terms," suggested Kethvar. "Make them give us 50% instead of 40. "Excellent idea," said Veltar. "They are in no position to refuse." The 3 aliens laughed together. They felt proud and powerful. They had won a great victory without firing a shot. But in their private room, the humans were preparing for something the aliens could never have imagined, something that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization, something that would teach the aliens the difference between surrender and strategy. Taeho looked at his watch. In 18 hours, he would return to the negotiation room. He would sit in that small chair and look up at the 3 alien leaders, and then he would show them what humans were really capable of. "Are you ready?" he asked his companions. Bo-Ra smiled, the same small smile that had made Kethvar uncomfortable earlier. "We have been ready for 30 years, she said. 24 hours had passed. The negotiation room looked exactly the same as before. The black stone table sat in the center under the painted sky ceiling. The 4 chairs waited around it, 3 large ones for the aliens and 1 small one for the human. But something had changed. Taeho walked into the room with Bora and June behind him. His steps were different now. Before, he had walked carefully, like someone who was afraid. Now he walked like a man who owned the place. The 3 aliens were already seated. Veltar looked pleased with himself. Mordak was clicking her mandibles, in a happy rhythm. Kethvar's energy body glowed brighter than usual. "Ah, Ambassador Kim," said Veltar. "Have you come to accept our generous terms?" Taeho sat down in his chair. But instead of looking up at the aliens as he had before, he leaned back and looked at each of them directly. His eyes were steady and calm. "Actually," said Taeho, "we have made some changes to your offer." The 3 aliens looked at each other, in surprise. "Changes?" asked Mordak. "You are not in a position to make changes. You can accept our terms or face destruction." "That is what I thought yesterday," said Taeho. "But I was wrong." Veltar's smile faded. "What do you mean?" "I mean," said Taeho, standing up slowly, "that this negotiation is over." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. It looked like a simple communication pad, but when he activated it, holographic displays filled the air above the table. The first display showed a star map of the local sector. Red dots marked the positions of alien fleets. The aliens recognized the display. It was their own military positioning, information that should have been top secret. "How did you get this data?" demanded Kethvar. "We have had access to your communication networks for 15 years, said Taeho calmly. "Every message you send, every order you give, every plan you make, we know about it before your own commanders do." Veltar stood up from his chair, his clawed hands clenched into fists. "Impossible. Our encryption is unbreakable." "Your encryption is based on mathematical principles that you think are too complex for human minds," said Bora, speaking for the first time. "You were wrong. The holographic display changed. Now it showed the battle at Wolf 359 from 6 months ago. But this was not the version the aliens remembered. "You think you captured one of our colony ships?" said June. "You were very proud of that victory." The display showed the alien ship surrounding a large human vessel. The human ship appeared to surrender without a fight. "But look closer," said Taeho. The image zoomed in on the human ship. Small devices could be seen attached to its hull, devices that were not part of the original design. "That ship was empty except for our spy equipment," said Bora. "We let you capture it so we could plant listening devices throughout your fleet." Mordak's compound eyes focused on the display. "You planned this?" "We planned everything," said Taeho. "Every battle, every defeat, every retreat. For 30 years, you have been fighting against shadows while we learned everything about you." The display changed again. Now it showed something that made all 3 aliens freeze in shock. Ships, hundreds of them. Human ships unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. They were sleek and powerful, with weapons that glowed with energy the aliens did not recognize. "Where are those ships?" whispered Veltar. "Everywhere," said Taeho. "Look around you." He touched his device again. The displays now showed real-time views from around the galaxy. In system after system, human ships were appearing. Not the small, weak vessels the aliens were used to seeing, but massive warships that dwarfed anything in the alien fleets. Near the Sauran home world, 50 human dreadnoughts dropped their cloaking fields and became visible. Each ship was twice the size of the largest Sauran battleship. In Hive Collective space, 100 human vessels surrounded the main industrial worlds. They had been hiding there for months, waiting for this moment. Around ethereal consortium territory, human ships materialized from what the aliens had thought was empty space. Their technology was so advanced that they could hide in plain sight. 200 years ago, when humans first met galactic civilization, we learned an important lesson, said Taeho. We learned that the galaxy is full of species who believe that might makes right. So we decided to become mighty. Veltar sank back into his chair. His green skin had turned pale. How many ships do you have? Enough, said Taeho. But let me show you something more interesting. The display changed to show what looked like empty space near a dead star, but as the image enhanced, structures became visible. Massive ring-shaped stations orbited the star, each one larger than a moon. Construction began on these facilities 25 years ago, said June. They are powered by the star itself. Each station can build 1,000 ships per year. And this is just one facility, added Bo-Ra. We have 37 others in various stages of completion. Mordak made a sound like grinding metal. Your industrial capacity, how did you hide it? The same way we hid everything else, said Tae-Ho. We let you see what we wanted you to see. The 47 systems you think we control? Those are just our public colonies. We actually control over 200 systems, most of them in regions you think are uninhabitable. The displays showed mining operations on worlds that the aliens had surveyed and dismissed as worthless. But human technology had found ways to extract valuable materials from places where alien science said nothing could exist. Hypermatter, said June, reading from his tablet. You still think it is theoretical. We have been mining it for 12 years. Quantum crystals, added Bo-Ra. Essential for faster-than-light communication. You have been looking for natural deposits for centuries. We learned how to grow them artificially. Zero-point energy, said Tae-Ho. The power source that your greatest scientists say is impossible to harness. It runs our entire fleet. Kethvar's energy body flickered rapidly. Why are you telling us this? What do you want? Tae-Ho smiled. It was not a friendly smile. I want you to understand something, he said. For 30 years, you have been fighting a war against an enemy that was holding back. Every victory you achieved was a victory we allowed you to have. Every strategy you developed was a strategy we wanted you to develop. He gestured to the displays around them. These ships, these weapons, this technology. We could have ended this war 30 years ago. We could have destroyed your fleets, conquered your worlds, and made your people our slaves. But we did not want to be conquerors. We wanted to be left alone. The room was silent except for the soft humming of the holographic projectors. You gave us 30 years to study you, continued Tae-Ho. 30 years to learn your weaknesses, your fears, your military doctrines. 30 years to prepare for this moment. He deactivated the displays. The room returned to its simple appearance, just 4 beings sitting around a black stone table. Yesterday, you offered us terms of surrender, said Tae-Ho. You wanted us to give you 40% of our industrial output, reduce our fleet to 50 patrol boats, and submit to alien oversight of our government. He stood up and walked toward the door. Bo-Ra and June followed him. Today, I am making you a counteroffer, he said, turning back to face the 3 aliens. You have 72 hours to withdraw all military forces from the neutral zone. After that, any armed alien vessel found in neutral space will be considered an act of war. You cannot be serious, said Veltar, finding his voice at last. Furthermore, continued Tae-Ho, ignoring the interruption, the 3 empires will cease all hostile actions against each other. Any empire that attacks another will face human intervention. We are done watching you tear the galaxy apart with your wars. And if we refuse? Asked Mordak. Tae-Ho paused at the door. Then you will discover why we spent 30 years learning how to destroy you. The 3 humans walked out of the room. The door closed behind them with a soft hiss. The 3 aliens sat in stunned silence. Everything they thought they knew about the galaxy had just been turned upside down. They are bluffing, said Veltar finally. This is all an elaborate trick. But, even as he said it, he did not sound convinced. Mordak was examining a data tablet, reviewing the real-time reports from her fleets. My commanders are confirming the presence of human ships throughout our territory, she said. Ships that were not there an hour ago. Same here, said Kethvar. Our sensor arrays are detecting massive energy signatures from human vessels. Energy signatures that should not be possible with their technology. Their technology, repeated Veltar. We do not know what their technology can do anymore. Outside the negotiation room, Tae-Ho walked down the corridor with his companions. Other beings in the hallway stared at them, but now the stares were different. Word was already spreading throughout the station about what had happened in the meeting. Sir, said Bo-Ra quietly, Admiral Cho reports that all fleets are in position. She is awaiting your orders. Tell her to maintain position but take no aggressive action, said Tae-ho. Let the aliens make the next move. And if they choose to fight? Asked June. Tae-ho stopped walking. For a moment, he looked tired, like a man carrying a heavy weight. Then we will show them that there is a difference between being peaceful and being weak, he said. The emergency session of the Soran High Command took place in a massive underground bunker on their home world. The room was carved from solid rock and filled with the most advanced military technology the Soran Empire possessed. Holographic displays showed the positions of every ship in their fleet. Admiral Zektol stood before the displays, his reptilian face showing confusion and fear. Around him, dozens of military officers stared at the screens in disbelief. Explain this to me. Again, said Zektol to his intelligence chief. How many human ships are we detecting? At least 800 in our space alone, Admiral, replied Commander Gektar. And they are all larger and more advanced than anything in our databases. 800, repeated Zektol. Yesterday we thought the humans had maybe 50 combat vessels left in their entire fleet. Sir, said another officer, we are receiving reports from across the Empire. Human ships have appeared near every major military installation, every shipyard, and every administrative center. They are not attacking, but they are clearly demonstrating their ability to strike anywhere they choose. Zektol turned to study one particular display. It showed the Battle of Kepler Station from 5 years ago. The official report said that human forces had been completely destroyed while attempting to defend the station. Show me the original sensor data from this battle, he ordered. The display changed to show raw sensor readings from the Soran ships that had participated in the fight for years. No one had looked at this data closely. The official reports had been enough, but now, with fresh eyes and new understanding, the truth became clear. Look at this, said Gektar, pointing to a series of energy readings. The human ships were not fighting at full power. Their weapon outputs were deliberately limited. And here, added another officer, their shields were operating at maybe 30% capacity. They could have withstood our attacks easily if they had wanted to. Zektol felt his stomach turn cold. They were testing us. The entire battle was a test to see what our weapons could do. Sir, said a communications officer, we are receiving a priority message from the Hive Collective. Queen Mordania requests an immediate conference call. Put her through, said Zektol. The main display changed to show the interior of the Hive Queen's chamber. Mordania looked as disturbed as Zektol felt. Her usually precise movements were erratic, and her compound eyes darted nervously. Admiral, she said without bothering with formal greetings, tell me you have an explanation for what is happening. I wish I did, Your Majesty, replied Zektol. Our intelligence was completely wrong. The humans have been playing us for fools. Playing us? Mordania's mandibles clicked rapidly. This goes beyond deception. This is a level of strategic planning that spans decades. A third voice joined the conversation as Prime Designate Kethvar's energy form appeared on the screen alongside the other two leaders. I have been analyzing the data from our networks, said Kethvar. The humans have had access to our communications for at least 15 years. Every military plan we made, every strategy we developed, every weakness we tried to hide, they knew about all of it. Zektol pulled up a tactical display showing Soran fleet positions. They could have destroyed our entire navy at any time in the past decade. We have been sailing our ships into battles where the enemy knew exactly where we would be and what we would do. It is worse than that, said Mordania. I have been reviewing our prisoner interrogation records. We captured over 300 human prisoners during the war, but somehow all of them managed to escape from our most secure facilities. Not escape, said Kethvar grimly. They were rescued, but not by ships. Our sensors would have detected ships. They were rescued by technology we did not know existed. The three leaders stared at each other through their communication link. Each was beginning to understand the full scope of what had happened. Show me the mining operations, said Zektol to his staff. The human mining operations that we thought were so primitive. A new display appeared showing several star systems where humans had been extracting materials from dead worlds. The operations had seemed small and inefficient to alien observers. Look at the mineral output reports, said one of Zektol's officers. According to our estimates, the humans were barely extracting enough materials to maintain their existing fleet. But if their fleet was actually 20 times larger than we thought, said Mordania, then they were extracting 20 times more materials than our sensors detected, finished Cathvar. They have technology that can hide mining operations from our detection systems. Zektol felt a chill run down his spine. What else have they been hiding? The answer came from an unexpected source. A junior officer at a monitoring station suddenly stood up, his face pale with shock. "Admiral," he said, "I am detecting massive energy signatures from the Kepler Nebula. The readings are—" "Sir, I do not think this is natural." The main display changed to show the nebula, a cloud of gas and dust that stretched across several light years. To alien sensors, it had always appeared empty except for the usual stellar debris. But now, with their sensors recalibrated to look for human technology, they could see the truth. "By the ancestors," whispered Zektol. Inside the nebula was a structure, the size of a small moon. It was clearly artificial, with the sleek lines and advanced materials that marked human construction. Energy readings showed that it was not just a base, it was a shipyard capable of building vessels larger than anything in the alien fleets. "How long has that been there?" asked Mordania. "Analyzing the stellar formation patterns," said Kethvar, "I estimate at least 20 years. They have been building ships right under our noses for 2 decades. More reports came flooding in from across the galaxy. Human installations were being detected in supposedly empty systems. Ships were decloaking near major trade routes. Bases that had been invisible were suddenly becoming visible as the humans chose to reveal them. They are not just showing us their military strength," realized Zektol. "They are showing us that they could have conquered us at any time they chose. The question," said Mordania, "is what they want to do now." As if in answer to her question, communication requests began arriving from human representatives throughout the galaxy. Each alien empire was receiving the same message. "Put it through," said Zektol. The display changed to show a human woman in a military uniform. She had short black hair and calm, confident eyes. Her name tag read, Admiral Cho. "I am Admiral Minju Cho of the Terran Federation Navy," she said. "I am contacting all 3 empires with the same message. You have 60 hours remaining to comply with Ambassador Kim's demands. All military vessels must withdraw from the neutral zone." "And if we refuse?" asked Zektol. "Then you will force us to take action we would prefer to avoid," replied Admiral Cho. "We have spent 30 years preparing for this moment, but we have also spent 30 years hoping it would never come." "You speak of peace," said Mordania, "but you threaten us with weapons." "We threaten you with consequences," corrected Admiral Cho. "For 30 years, your 3 empires have fought wars that killed billions of beings. You have destroyed entire worlds over territory disputes. You have enslaved species that could not defend themselves. We are offering you a chance to choose a different path." "And if we do not choose it?" asked Kethvar. Admiral Cho's expression did not change, but something cold entered her eyes. "Then you will learn why humans became the apex predator on their homeworld despite being smaller and weaker than most of the creatures they competed against." The communication ended, leaving the 3 alien leaders staring at blank screens. "We need to make a decision," said Zektol finally. "What decision?" asked Mordania. "We cannot fight them. They have technology that is generations ahead of ours. They have ships we cannot detect until they choose to reveal themselves. They have been planning this for longer than some of our officers have been alive. But if we submit to their demands," said Kethvar, "we will appear weak to our own people." "We are weak," said Zektol bluntly. "We have been weak this entire time. We just did not know it." Across the galaxy, similar conversations were taking place in government chambers and military headquarters. Alien commanders were reviewing battle footage and finding evidence of human deception everywhere. Intelligence analysts were discovering how completely their networks had been compromised. And everywhere, the same terrifying realization was dawning. Humanity had never been the enemy they thought they were fighting. Humanity had been the teacher, showing them exactly how outclassed they really were. On the space station where the negotiations had taken place, panic was spreading among the diplomatic staff. Representatives from dozens of minor alien species were demanding answers. Trade agreements were being suspended. Alliance treaties were being questioned. The three great powers that had dominated the galaxy for centuries were suddenly revealed to be nothing more than students in a classroom where humanity had been the teacher all along. And the lesson was nearly over. In 58 hours, they would learn whether they had passed or failed. The galaxy held its breath and waited to see what the humans would do next. 72 hours had passed since Tae-ho Kim walked out of the negotiation room. The deadline had come and gone, and the galaxy watched to see what would happen next. The answer came not with explosions or battles, but with something much more: dramatic silence. Across the neutral zone, alien fleets were withdrawing. Soran battlecruisers that had patrolled the border for decades were turning away and heading back to their home systems. Hive collective swarm ships were breaking formation and scattering like insects fleeing from light. Ethereal consortium. Vessels were simply vanishing, their energy-based hulls dispersing into space. The retreat was not organized or dignified. It was a panicked flight as three mighty empires discovered that their weapons were useless against an enemy they had never truly understood. Admiral Minju Cho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable Soul, watching the alien withdrawal through the massive view screen. Her ship was no longer hidden in the nebula. It hung in open space, its presence a statement that could be seen across half the galaxy. The ship was beautiful in the way that only human engineering could achieve. Its hull was smooth and white, like polished bone. Energy flowed along its surface in patterns that seemed almost alive. It was twice the size of the largest alien dreadnought, but it moved with the grace of a dancer. "Status report," said Admiral Cho. "All alien forces have cleared the neutral zone," replied Captain Young-Soo Park, her second in command. "The last Soran destroyer crossed the boundary 17 minutes ago. Any signs of regrouping?" "No, Admiral. Their fleets are scattered. Intelligence reports that the three empires are no longer communicating with each other. Each one seems to be planning separate responses." Admiral Cho nodded. This was exactly what they had expected. Faced with a superior enemy, the alien alliance was falling apart. Each empire was now concerned only with its own survival. "Open a channel to all inhabited systems in the galaxy," she ordered. The communication officer worked at his console for a moment. "Channel open, Admiral. You are broadcasting to approximately 4 billion worlds." Admiral Cho stepped forward so that her image would be clearly visible to anyone watching. She wore a simple uniform with few decorations, but her presence filled the screen with quiet authority. "People of the galaxy," she began, "I am Admiral Minju Cho of the Terran Federation. For 30 years, your worlds have suffered under the wars of three great empires. Billions have died in conflicts that served no purpose except to feed the pride of your leaders." She paused, letting her words sink in across countless worlds. "Today, that ends. The Terran Federation hereby assumes responsibility for maintaining peace in this galaxy. Any government that chooses aggression over diplomacy will face our intervention. Any species that threatens others will discover that humanity protects the innocent." The transmission ended, but its effects rippled across the galaxy like waves in a pond. On the Soran home world, Emperor Calzoon sat in his throne room, surrounded by advisors who no longer knew what advice to give. Reports were flooding in from across his empire. Human ships had appeared over every major world, not threatening but clearly demonstrating their ability to strike anywhere they chose. "What do they want from us?" he asked his prime minister. "Peace, your majesty," replied the minister. "They want us to stop fighting wars. That is all." "That appears to be all." Emperor Calzoon looked out the window of his palace. In the sky above, a human ship hung motionless, its white hull gleaming in the sunlight. It was beautiful and terrible, a reminder that his empire existed now only because humanity allowed it to exist. "Send a message to the humans," he said quietly. "Tell them that the Soran Empire accepts their terms." Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. On the Hive Collective's central world, Queen Mordania was discovering that half of her nobles were already opening private communications with human representatives. The smart ones were trying to position themselves as allies of the new galactic power. In the energy realms of the ethereal consortium, the High Council was debating whether to resist or submit, but the debate was largely meaningless. Their military commanders had already made the decision by withdrawing their fleets rather than face human weapons. 6 months later, the galaxy had settled into its new reality. Tae-ho Kim stood in his office on the space station that had once been called Harmony's Edge. The station had been renamed Unity Station and expanded to serve as the headquarters of the Galactic Peace Council. Through his window, he could see ships from dozens of species coming and going in an orderly fashion. There were no more wars. The three great empires still existed, but they no longer fought each other. They had learned that any conflict would bring swift human intervention, and no one wanted to test human resolve a second time. A soft chime announced that someone was requesting entry to his office. "Come in," said Tae-ho. The door opened to admit a young human officer. Lieutenant Hyun-woo. Choi was fresh from the academy, one of the new generation who had grown up knowing that humanity was the dominant power in the galaxy. "Sir," said Lieutenant Choi, "the monthly reports are ready for your review." He placed a data tablet on Tae-ho's desk. The reports showed trade statistics, diplomatic communications, and security assessments from across human space. Tae-ho picked up the tablet and began reading. Human colonies were expanding into systems that had once been forbidden to them. Trade routes that had been disrupted by war for decades were now operating smoothly under human protection. Scientific research was proceeding without the constant threat of military attacks. "Lieutenant," said Tae-ho, "do you ever wonder if we made the right choice?" The young officer looked surprised by the question. "Sir, we deceived 3 entire civilizations for 30 years, said Tae-ho. "We let them think they were winning a war while we prepared to defeat them completely. Some might call that dishonorable." Lieutenant Choi considered the question carefully. "Sir, how many beings died in the wars before we intervened?" Tae-ho touched his tablet, calling up historical data. "Approximately 47 billion, according to the most recent estimates. And how many have died in galactic conflicts since we revealed ourselves?" "None," said Tae-ho. "There have been no major conflicts in 6 months." "Then I think we made the right choice, sir." Tae-ho smiled. The lieutenant was young, but he understood something important. Sometimes the most moral choice was not the most honest one. A communication alert chimed on Tae-ho's desk. The screen showed that Ambassador Veltar was requesting a meeting. "Put him through," said Tae-ho. The screen changed to show the Sauran ambassador. Veltar looked older than he had 6 months ago. The arrogance was gone from his bearing, replaced by something that might have been wisdom. "Ambassador Kim," said Veltar, "I wanted to inform you that the Sauran Empire has completed its military reduction as requested. Our fleet now consists entirely of patrol vessels and defensive platforms." "Thank you for the update," said Tae-ho. "How is your people adapting to the new situation?" Veltar hesitated before answering. "Better than expected, actually. Without the constant need to fund military expansion, we have been able to invest in civilian infrastructure. Our citizens are happier." "I am glad to hear that." "Ambassador Kim," said Veltar, "may I ask you a personal question?" "Of course. During the negotiations 6 months ago, when you walked out of that room, did you already know how this would end?" Tae-ho leaned back in his chair and considered the question. "We knew what we hoped would happen," he said finally. "We hoped that when faced with our true strength, the galaxy would choose peace over war. We hoped that you would see the futility of conflict when the cost became too high to bear. And if we had chosen to fight, then we would have done what was necessary to protect innocent lives," said Tae-ho. "But we are grateful that it did not come to that." The communication ended, leaving Tae-ho alone with his thoughts. Lieutenant Choi had remained in the office, quietly organizing files while the conversation took place. Now he looked up from his work. "Sir," he said, "there is one thing I do not understand about the war." "What is that, Lieutenant?" "If we were always superior, why did we wait 30 years to reveal ourselves? Why not end the conflict immediately?" Tae-ho walked to the window and looked out at the busy space lanes around the station. Ships from dozens of worlds moved in peaceful formation, their weapons powered down, their crews focused on trade and exploration rather than war. "Because, Lieutenant," he said, "the goal was never to win a war. The goal was to end all wars. If we had simply conquered the galaxy 30 years ago, we would have been seen as invaders and oppressors. The alien species would have resented us and rebelled at the first opportunity. He gestured toward the ships outside. But by letting them exhaust themselves in pointless conflicts, by showing them the true cost of their aggression, we gave them a choice. They could continue fighting and face destruction, or they could choose peace and prosperity. And they chose peace. They chose survival, corrected Tai-Ho. Peace was simply the intelligent option. As the day ended and the artificial night cycle began on the station, Tai-Ho remained at his window, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, on thousands of worlds, beings were going to sleep without fear of war.